Well, hello YouTube. It's been a couple weeks. Those of you who watch this channel a lot probably know that I've been at work for more than a month. It was the longest well I've done in 2 years, and although didn't have any big problems, everybody got a little at the end of their rope. The guy in charge of the rig kind of lost his wits, literally, and made me stay an extra 2 days for literally no reason. I mean, he wasn't being mean or anything. He just thought he needed me to be there when there was literally nothing I could possibly have done. And eventually he snapped out of it and said sorry and sent me on my way much later than I had anticipated. Oh, it still would have been a long well. But I get paid for all that, so I guess it's no big deal. It's good to be done, and it's good to be looking forward to at least a week or so of time off. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cram in all of my holiday preparations into this time period. Um, but it's just good to be off the rig and be back to normal. I'm in a hotel room now, uh, and I'll be driving the rest of the way back to Michigan tomorrow. It should take about 26 hours, I guess. Um, the other interesting thing that happened is while I was there, I got paid, and I was able to pay off the last of my debt. Now, I never have had huge credit card problems. I think the maximum.
While my shadows are showing. I've been up for like two days, and I just drove 200 miles. I look like a raccoon.
Sorry about that. Uh, when I was in college, I did actually have to use my credit card to pay for some of my classes towards the end, and I think I got up a balance of around 2,500. And once that was paid off, I only use them when I'm working and when I know that my income is greater than what I'm spending on them. If I don't have any money, I will use them. I have not shredded them. I don't know that I ever will either because I've been pretty good about it. And so in the last couple of years, I might run up a balance of $200 or $300 waiting for a paycheck and then pay it off, after 2 or 3 months. And so that was that. But I did have student loans. I don't actually really know what they ever were at their maximum because I was always paying them down. I know when I finished college, I had already paid off the ones I had taken for. I didn't take any my freshman year. I had enough saved up that I was able to pay for it. But I took some out my sophomore, junior, junior B, senior A. How many letters here? Uh, I paid most of them off before I was done with school, but I think I ended with in the $15,000 to $20,000 range, and I always paid them, a little bit. And when I was making money, when I was doing well, I would pay much more than the minimum, 10 or 12 or 15 or even 20 times the minimum. And the last two times I got paid, each time was over $5,000, and each time I paid off one of my two student loans, and I just paid off the last one, so I am no longer in debt. So uh, I'm I've always had a list in my mind of the things I want to possess, material things that I would like, and they do run along uh, the survivalist line. Oh, obviously, guns were on the list early on, and my collection is getting a lot bigger. I am very tempted to drop almost $2,000 on a very fine rifle. If I ever do, I will show it on here. Although I could afford to do that right now, not be under, I am going to hold off until that I can spend it and not have to worry about it. Uh, Obviously, gold, silver, multiple automobiles probably, and at the end, the big one will be some kind of arable land, which fortunately, in my area of Michigan, you can get very arable, very nice land in rural settings, with like rolling hills and trees and forests and streams and ponds and stuff, for $1,000 an acre. Sometimes even including some type of structure like a barn or whatnot. Now, you won't be able to find one with a house or at least anything bigger than a very dilapidated trailer for that much, but that is something that is in my price range or will be very soon. Anyway, my question is, I'm very leery about keeping any cash balances other than what I'm using to actually purchase things. I don't. To make these larger purchases, I'm going to need to have savings, and I'm strongly leaning towards keeping those savings in gold or perhaps silver, probably gold. Now, I have one big misgiving about this, and it's more psychological than financial, and that is once I own gold or guns, I am very, very reluctant to part with it. I mean, even if someone offers me double, I will not sell because it's happened with some of my guns. People have offered me more than that, more than double for some of them, and I will not do it because I want the guns and I want gold. And to me, to have five or six, or say I were to have uh, 10 ounces of gold, and for me to sell that to buy a car would feel very weird. But on the other hand, it makes sense to me because I'm very likely in the foreseeable future to gain a great deal more. There's no way the interest rates any bank would ever pay me as compared to the probable rise in price of gold. If it ever were to dip, I probably wouldn't lose that much, and I could always wait till the next time. The other thing, though, even greater than that, is that, and I'm sure this is something that most of my subscribers feel to one degree or another, dollars are like hot potatoes or musical chairs. You just don't want to be caught holding only them, or I mean, it doesn't matter if you have $1,000 in your bank account and you have lots of gold, no biggie. But if you have $58,000 or $100,000 in Federal Reserve notes, I really feel like that's being very risky. I'm not saying hyperinflation is about to happen, uh, or that it will. It might not happen, although the recklessness of the politicians and the incentives that they have is such that they will risk it, and in their risking it, there is a good chance it could happen. Uh, and the one thing if you study bubbles and business cycle theories is there is no way to know like the date that it will happen. Uh, in a way, it's kind of it discredits, at least in some people's eyes, people like Peter Schiff or Ron Paul, because you'll say, well, they predicted the crisis, but they've been predicting it for decades. I mean, Ron Paul is on record at least for 30 years, basically predicting this. And at some point, you have to say, well, he always says that's going to happen. Now, I give them more credit than that because they have very sound economic theory behind what they're saying, and they know the limits. They can't say, okay, on December 9th of 2013, the dollar will go down 10% per month or whatever. Uh, and I certainly can't say that. But uh, so my question is, does anybody know of any serious cons other than perhaps the obvious ones, like maybe if the price went down or maybe if you had it stolen from you, of keeping my savings in gold or silver? I'm going to lean towards gold just because it has a much higher value per unit of weight. And I don't want to be. I like silver. I mean, that's what got me started. I think they're kind of the same. But anyway, does anyone have any other qualms about it? I mean, my biggest one is just I don't want to buy gold and then sell it later. I mean, eventually you have to. That's the whole point, is to eventually consume it, I suppose. Uh, but it, I've been. I mean, when I started buying gold and silver in 2004, 2005, I was literally thinking this is going to be my retirement in 50 or 60 years or whatever it is. And the ounces that I'm buying now in college when I'm 22 or 3, I'm going to be using to pay for my medical bills, in 2045 or whatever. Uh, and because of that, the idea of expending any at this point uh, kind of bothers me. The only time I've ever sold my silver was to buy a gun, my first gun actually, and I consider that a worthwhile trade. But anything other than that, a swap of silver and gold or for a gun, I'm kind of leery of. Now the car won't be a big deal. I should make enough money to buy the car that I need in 2 or 3 months. Uh, the home and the land, that will be different. I'm gonna have to spend a lot more time looking into exactly what I want, where I want it to be. Right now, I'm strongly leaning towards my area in Michigan. I know about the Free State Project, and believe me, that's very tempting. But you know, there's friends, there's family, there's support structures, and I almost feel like I would be in a position where I could actually start my own kind of anarchy land because I have more than a few friends who agree with me who would probably be interested in, say, sharing a farmstead and perhaps eventually becoming neighbors. And this actually already has happened in Michigan, not with the strict libertarians, but it has happened with the militia people, and in actually areas not far from where I live. There are regions, only 20 miles from where I live, that are basically no-go zones for federal agents. At least that's the impression everybody seems to have, because so many of them are, so many of the people who live in those areas are, they're not like me in the Austro-libertarian sense, but they are like me in the anti-federal government sense. So, if anyone has any questions. Oh, the other thing, while I was gone, I obviously made a whole bunch of videos, and I know that nobody is that interested to watch so many in a row. I don't even know how many I've made. It could be it could be 15 or 20. I'm not sure. Uh, and I'm gonna upload them all very soon. As soon as I get back to Michigan, basically, I will start doing it. I need to do it because it will only be a week or two before I go back to work, and then uh, I don't know. I know it seems a little vain. Well, I suppose it is. It's not bad though. I mean, that's what this is for. I realized that by putting a whole bunch of stuff out all at once, a lot of people probably won't really want to watch all of it, and that's fine. But there's really no way I want around it. So uh, anyway, wow. Oh, safety's on. Double action. Be nice to have a rifle again. I'm gonna get a membership at Gun Club. I'm just tired of shooting in the woods. Uh, that is actually one of the other things I need to do a lot more of. You all know I'm a gun nut, but to be honest, I am not a marksman by any measure. That just takes a lot of time, and I have just never put it in. And for a while, I had an excuse when I was in college. I lived in a college town. You couldn't just go out and shoot. You didn't have the money to do it anyway. And since then, I've been either unemployed where I can't afford to do it, or I've been working nonstop. But now, I mean, if I put up the time on my weeks off, you know, I'm usually working 3 or 4 weeks and then a week or two off, 3 or 4 weeks, a week or two off. That's not ideal. It would be better if I could do something every day or at least once a week, but or a couple times a week. But you know, I'll have to make it work. Uh, my goal eventually is to actually attend some of the firearms academies. There's some excellent ones that are basically places they actually send the special forces people to get not all their training, but refined firearms training. And these instructors, uh, they will they will train civilians. And the tuition, it's pricey if you're a poor student. When I first learned of this, there was no way, but I'm getting to the point now where it's something I can budget in and maybe do, and I'm really leaning to it, although it hasn't. You know how you know how in Austrian economics, uh, values are uh, ordinal; they're not cardinal. So we don't say we want something 8% and 10%. We say we want something first, second, third. I don't know where I want that yet. It's down on the list. One or two more guns is higher. Car is higher. Land is, well, land is probably higher. Originally, getting out of debt was higher, and that's, you know, I've done that, so now I go to the next marginal unit of utility. It's probably the wrong uses because that would be the same same good. Getting out of debt once, there really wouldn't be a marginal utility because there is no more of the good. Anyway, there's that, and then the other thing, a few of you know, I do really want to go to Iceland at some point, and for a while, for months, for a couple months, and I'd like to have enough money that I can rent a place there, not something really nice, but a place and live there for 6 or 7 months, mostly because it interests me for a number of reasons. Some of you know what those are also, but also because Doug Casey, the anarcho-capitalist investor, advises that people diversify, quote, politically. The idea being you should not trust that. I mean, you might say for now the United States is the best place, the best boat to be on, but it's obvious that it could become not the best boat to be on, and you want to have options, and it's very difficult to do that without having cultivated that. And so, uh, even though my interest in Iceland, something that I haven't been too explicit about in these videos, but I hope to be in the future. Uh, Although it is principally just my personal interest in the language and in the society, uh, and the Hopstörter, uh, there are actually practical reasons to consider becoming more multinational in your proclivities, and Iceland's not that bad of a place in that reason because they have really good anti-extradition things for political kind of dissidents. Also, though they're extremely weak, and I wouldn't be surprised if a $1 billion bailout would get them to send anybody off their little ice cube of a hot spot. But yeah, that's the update. Look for those videos. Uh, if you don't like any of the titles, don't watch them. Some of them are a little bit different than the ones I've done before. Others are a little bit more typical fare for me. Yeah. And if anyone has any advice about the gold, silver thing, I'd love to hear it. Or what's to purchase, or how to go about purchasing land, or even a car. I guess I don't need anyone's help on a car. I have family that's pretty, uh, quite well connected in the auto field. I'm actually from Michigan, so there's a Detroit connection there. But uh, yeah, I'm to the point now where I am going to be saving for these larger purchases, and since they're big decisions, I'm not going to probably just go off what anybody says. But if anybody has a good idea, I will certainly be willing to listen to it and consider it. So that's it. I'll see you all later, and have a great evening.